I stood at the back of that church watching my mother walk down the aisle in a white dress, and the world stopped making sense. My mother. My husband. Their wedding day. You think you know betrayal? You think you understand what it means to have your heart ripped out of your chest while it's still beating? Let me tell you something. You don't know anything until you've watched the two people you trusted most in this world destroy you, and then invite you to witness their victory. This is the story of how I died without my body hitting the floor. How I came back from that death. And how I made damn sure they paid for every single lie, every stolen kiss, every whispered promise they made while plotting to take everything from me. My name is Gladys Whitmore, and this is the truth about what happens when love becomes poison. Before we continue, please write in the comment which country you are watching this video from, and if this is your first time on this channel, please subscribe. Your support helps us bring even epic revenge stories of life. Enjoy listening. 3 months before that wedding, I was still living in ignorance. You know what they say, ignorance is bliss. They're right. Because the moment awareness creeps in, the moment you start seeing the cracks in your perfect life, there's no going back. It started small. So small I told myself I was imagining things. Declan stopped touching me. Not all at once. It wasn't like he woke up one morning and decided to treat me like a stranger. But it was gradual. Subtle. The kind of thing that makes you question your own sanity because you can't pinpoint exactly when everything changed. He used to grab my waist when I walked past him in the kitchen. Used to pull me close when we watched television, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my shoulder. Used to kiss me goodnight like he meant it, like I was the only woman in the world who mattered. But then the touches stopped. The kisses became quick pecks, obligatory, tyrannical. His eyes would slide past me instead of landing on me. And when I tried to initiate intimacy, he'd make excuses. I'm tired, Gladys. I have an early meeting tomorrow. Not tonight, okay? I told myself it was stress. His architecture firm was taking on bigger projects. He was working late more often. Coming home exhausted. That was normal, right? That's what I kept telling myself. But then came the phone. God, that phone became like a third person in our marriage. He'd be sitting across from me at dinner and his phone would buzz. His whole face would light up. This smile I hadn't seen in months would spread across his features. He'd grab that phone so fast, typing away, completely forgetting I existed. Who's that? I asked one night, trying to sound casual. Just a client, he said, not looking up. Must be a funny client. You're smiling. His eyes flicked to me then and something cold passed through them. Can't I smile anymore? Jesus, Gladys, you're being paranoid. Paranoid. He made me feel crazy. Like I was the problem for noticing that my husband had stopped seeing me. I started watching him more carefully after that. The way he'd take his phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. How he'd angled the screen away from me when he typed. The way he'd changed his passcode. I knew because I tried to use his phone once when mine was dead and the old code didn't work anymore. You changed your password, I said. Yeah, for security. Someone at work got hacked. Reasonable explanation. But my stomach twisted anyway. Then my mother started showing up more often. Victoria Hartley. My beautiful, elegant 52-year-old mother who could still turn heads when she walked into a room. She'd always been attractive, but she was my mother, you know? I never thought about it beyond that. She started dropping by the house 2-3 times a week. Always with some excuse. I was in the neighborhood. I brought you some homemade lasagna. I just wanted to see my baby girl. I loved her visits at first. My father had died 4 years ago and I knew she was lonely in that big house. I was happy to see her, happy to give her company. We'd sit in the living room drinking tea, talking about everything and nothing. But then I started noticing things. The way she'd laugh extra loud when Declan walked into the room. How she'd touch her hair, smooth down her dress. The way her eyes would follow him across the room. And the way he'd linger when he greeted her, his hand on her shoulder just a moment too long. Your mother's here again, Declan said one evening, but there was no annoyance in his voice. If anything, he sounded pleased. Is that a problem? I asked. No. I like Victoria. She's great company. Something about the way he said her name made my skin prickle. I started confiding in my mother about the changes in Declan. About how distant he'd become, how cold. I needed someone to talk to and she was my mother. Who else could I trust? Oh, sweetheart, she'd say, patting my hand. Men go through phases. Your father was the same way sometimes. Just give him space. Be patient. He'll come back to you. I believed her. I actually sat there and believed her while she looked me in the eyes and told me to be patient with the man she was sleeping with. The closeness between them started becoming more obvious. They'd have inside jokes I wasn't part of. They'd exchange glances across the room that lasted a beat too long. Once I walked into the kitchen and found them standing close together, and they jumped apart like I'd caught them doing something wrong. "What's going on?" I asked. "Nothing," my mother said too quickly. "I was just telling Declan about this amazing restaurant downtown. You two should go." "We should all go together," I said, watching their faces. "Oh, I wouldn't want to intrude on your date night," Victoria said, but something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment? Annoyance? I pushed it down. Pushed down the ugly thoughts trying to surface. This was my mother. The woman who gave birth to me, who raised me, who held me when I cried. She wouldn't. She couldn't. But the alarm bells were ringing so loud now I couldn't ignore them anymore. One Wednesday afternoon I came home early from my job at the publishing house. My boss had sent me home because I'd been fighting off a migraine all day. I pulled into the driveway at 2 in the afternoon, 4 hours earlier than usual. I was fumbling with my keys when I heard Declan's car. I turned surprised. He wasn't supposed to be home until 7. The car pulled into the driveway and my heart started pounding. Not because I thought I'd catch him doing something wrong. It was something else. Some primal instinct warning me that whatever was about to happen would change everything. Declan got out of the driver's side. And then the passenger door opened. My mother stepped out. Time slowed down. I watched her emerge from my husband's car in the middle of a Wednesday afternoon, and every excuse, every rationalization I'd been making for months crumbled to dust. "Gladys," my mother said, her voice pitched too high. "Honey, what are you doing home?" What was I doing home? I lived here. "I have a migraine," I said slowly. "What are you doing here?" "I was just passing by the area," Victoria said, smoothing her skirt. She was wearing a tight red dress I'd never seen before. Makeup perfectly applied. Hair styled. "I thought I'd stop by to check on you and I ran into Declan in the driveway. We came up together." The lie was so smooth. So practiced. But it didn't make sense. "You ran into him in the driveway? How?" "He just pulled up." "I meant I saw him pulling in as I was walking up," she corrected quickly. "Where's your car then?" Pause. Just a fraction of a second, but I caught it. "I took a taxi. Dropped me at the corner. I felt like walking." Declan finally spoke. "Gladys, what's with the interrogation? Your mother came to visit. Why are you being weird about it?" "Weird? You made me feel weird for asking basic questions." "I'm not being weird. I'm just confused." "Well, don't be," he said, walking past me to unlock the door. "Your mother's always welcome here." My mother followed him inside. I stood there for a moment, my head pounding, my stomach churning. Something was so wrong. Every instinct I had was screaming at me. But I followed them inside because what else could I do? They sat in the living room making small talk while I went upstairs to take medicine for my headache. When I came back down, my mother was laughing at something Declan said, her hand on his knee. She pulled it away when she saw me. "I should go," Victoria said, standing up. "Let you rest, sweetheart." She kissed my cheek and I smelled her perfume. Sweet. For expensive. The same perfume my father used to buy her for their anniversary. After she left, I confronted Declan. "Why were you really with my mother?" "I told you. I ran into her." "That's not true." "Are you calling me a liar?" "I'm asking you to tell me the truth." He stood up, his face hardening. "You know what your problem is, Gladys? You're paranoid. You're insecure. And frankly, it's exhausting. Your mother is a nice woman who likes to visit her daughter. Stop making everything into some conspiracy." He walked out of the room, leaving me standing there feeling like I was losing my mind. That night, I called my best friend Anita. We'd known each other since college and she was the only person I could trust completely. "Anita, something's wrong," I said, my voice breaking. "I think Declan might be cheating." "What? Why do you think that?" I told her everything. The distance, the phone, the smiles, the secrecy. And then I told her about finding him with my mother. Silence on the other end. "Anita. I'm here. I'm just..." "Gladys, that's concerning. But it's your mother. Maybe she really was just visiting." "Then why did they lie about it? Why did their story not make sense?" "I don't know, babe. But keep observing. Maybe keep track of when your mother visits. See if there's a pattern. Keep observing. like I was some detective in my own marriage. But that's what I did. I started noting when my mother called, when she visited, when Declan worked late. And a pattern emerged that made me sick. Every time Declan claimed he had a late meeting, my mother would be unreachable. Every time my mother said she had plans with her book club, Declan would come home late. I was building a case against the two people I loved most in the world, and I hated myself for it. 2 weeks later, I came home from work on a Friday evening. The moment I opened the door, I smelled it. My mother's perfume. It hung in the air, thick and unmistakable. I stood in the foyer, my briefcase slipping from my fingers, and I couldn't breathe. She'd been here. While I was at work, my mother had been in my house. I walked through the rooms like a ghost, following that scent. It led me upstairs. To my bedroom. My bedroom. My hands were shaking as I pushed open the door. Everything looked normal at first. Bed made, curtains drawn. But that perfume was stronger here, mixed with something else. Something muskier. I walked to the bed. Pulled back the covers. Nothing. Then I lifted the pillows. Red lipstick. A perfect stain on the white pillowcase. My mother's signature shade, Ruby Royale. My legs gave out. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at that lipstick stain, and something inside me shattered. My mother. In my bed. With my husband. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. Time didn't mean anything anymore. When Declan came home that night, I was still sitting there, the pillowcase in my hands. "What are you doing?" he asked from the doorway. I looked up at him. Really looked at him. This man I'd married 6 years ago. This man I'd built a life with. This man who was destroying me piece by piece. "Whose lipstick is this?" His face went blank. "What?" "This lipstick. On our pillow. Whose is it?" "I don't know. Maybe it's yours." "It's not my color." "Then I don't know, Gladys. Maybe it was there from before. Maybe the cleaning lady." "Our cleaning lady doesn't wear makeup." "Try again." He stared at me, and I saw him calculating. Deciding whether to keep lying or come up with a better story. "Maybe it's from a friend who visited," he finally said. "Which friend?" "I don't know." "Why are you acting crazy?" "Because I'm not crazy." I screamed, standing up. "I know something is going on. I know you're lying to me. And I know my mother was here today." Something flickered across his face. Fear, anger, but he covered it quickly. "Your mother drops by sometimes." "So what? Does she drop by to sleep in our bed?" "That's disgusting, Gladys. That's your mother. How could you even suggest?" "Then explain the lipstick." "I can't explain what I don't know about." We stood there, facing each other across the bedroom, and I saw a stranger. The man I'd married was gone. In his place was someone who could look me in the eyes and lie without flinching. "I want the truth," I said quietly. "Whatever it is, just tell me. I can handle the truth. I can't handle this. This constant gaslighting." For a moment, just a moment, I thought he might confess. His mouth opened, his eyes softened, and I thought finally. But then he shook his head. "There's nothing to tell. You're stressed. You're imagining things. Maybe you should talk to someone. A therapist or something." He walked out of the room, and I was alone with that lipstick-stained pillowcase and the terrible knowledge that my life was a lie. I became someone I didn't recognize. A spy in my own life. I started checking Declan's pockets, looking through his car, trying to find proof of what I already knew in my bones. But he was careful. So careful. Then one night, 3 weeks after I found the lipstick, Declan announced he had a late meeting with a client. "It might go until 10 or 11, he said, adjusting his tie in the mirror. "Don't wait up." I watched him from the bed. He looked good. Too good for a business meeting. His best suit. Cologne. Hairstyled perfectly. "Which client?" I asked. "The Morrison account. Big commercial project downtown." He kissed my forehead, a cold, obligatory gesture, and left. I waited 10 minutes. Then I grabbed my keys and followed him. My heart was racing as I kept my distance, watching his taillights ahead of me. He didn't go downtown toward his office. He headed north toward the expensive part of town. He pulled into the parking lot of the Grandview Hotel. I parked across the street, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I watched him get out, straighten his jacket, and stand there waiting. 5 minutes later, another car pulled up. A silver Mercedes. A woman got out. She was wearing a long coat, heels, her hair pinned up. I couldn't see her face from this distance, but I saw what happened next. She walked straight to Declan. He smiled. That smile I remembered from when we were dating, full of warmth and desire. And then she kissed him. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss. His hands on her waist, her arms around his neck. I think I stopped breathing. They broke apart, said something to each other, and walked into the hotel together. His hand on the small of her back. Easy. Familiar. Like they'd done this 100 times before. I sat in my car, shaking, tears streaming down my face. Part of me wanted to burst into that hotel to catch them, to scream and rage and make a scene. But another part of me, the part that was already planning, already thinking ahead, knew I needed more than this. I needed to know who she was. I needed to understand the full scope of their betrayal. So I drove home and I cried until there were no tears left. The next morning, Declan came home at 6 a.m. I pretended to be asleep. He showered, washing away evidence, and then climbed into bed beside me like nothing had happened. "How was your meeting?" I asked, my eyes still closed. "Long, tedious. But we got the contract." Lie after lie after lie. I spent the next week in agony. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't focus at work. Anita kept calling, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her what I'd seen. Saying it out loud would make it real. My mother called too. "Sweetheart, I haven't heard from you. Is everything all right?" Her voice. Sweet. Concerned. Motherly. I almost told her. Almost broke down and confessed that I thought Declan was cheating. But something held me back. Some instinct that whispered, "Don't trust her." "I'm fine, Mom. Just busy with work." "Oh good. Listen, I was thinking we should have lunch this week. Just us girls. We haven't had a proper catch-up in ages." "Sure, Mom. I'll call you." I never called. Said I waited. Watched. Looked for an opportunity. Came 2 days later. Declan left his phone on the bathroom counter while he was in the shower. He'd done this before, but it was always locked. Always protected. This time I picked it up and the screen was on. Still unlocked from whatever he'd been doing before. My hands trembled as I opened his messages. There were the usual conversations. Work colleagues. His brother. His gym buddy. And then I saw a contact labeled V. Just the letter V. I opened it. What I saw made the room spin. Messages going back months. Hundreds of them. V, I can't stop thinking about today. You make me feel alive again. Declan, you're incredible. I've never felt this way before. V, what about Gladys? Declan, she doesn't need to know yet. We have to be smart about this. V, I hate sneaking around. I want to be with you properly. Declan, soon. I promise. We just need to get everything in place first. I scrolled further back, my vision blurring with tears. V, do you think she suspects? Declan, no. She's clueless. He trusts me completely. And she'd never suspect you. V, I feel guilty sometimes. He's my daughter. The phone slipped from my hands and clattered on the tile floor. My daughter. My mother. Victoria. V. The shower stopped running. I heard Declan moving in the bathroom. I picked up the phone with numb fingers and kept reading because I had to know everything. Declan. Have you thought more about the plan? V. Are you sure we can get access to her trust fund? Declan. She has signing authority, but I'm her husband. I can convince her to sign anything. She trusts me. V. How much are we talking about? Declan. 8 million. Her father left it all to her. She's been saving it, never touches it. She won't even notice until it's too late. V. And after? Declan. After, we'll have everything we need to start over. Together. We'll go somewhere she'll never find us. Maybe Spain. You always wanted to live in Spain. V. What about the divorce? Declan. I'll file once we have the money secured. She can keep the house and her job. We don't need any of that. We just need the trust fund. V. I never thought I could feel this way again. Not after Robert died. Declan. Your husband would want you to be happy, Victoria. V. I am happy. With you. I just wish we didn't have to hurt her. Declan. She'll get over it eventually. He's strong. And honestly, I stopped loving her a long time ago. I only stayed because of the money. The bathroom door opened. I was standing there, phone in hand, when Declan walked out in a towel. His eyes met mine. Then dropped to the phone. And I watched his face change as he realized what I'd seen. Gladys. My mother, I whispered. You're sleeping with my mother. And you're planning to steal my inheritance. He didn't deny it. Didn't scramble for an excuse. Instead, something cold settled over his features. How much did you read? Enough. He nodded slowly. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, Gladys? That I'm sorry? That it meant nothing. He walked past me into the bedroom and started getting dressed. The truth is, Victoria and I have been together for almost a year now. And yes, we were planning to take your money. Because frankly, you don't deserve it. The casual cruelty in his voice broke something in me. I don't deserve my own inheritance? You didn't earn it. Your daddy left it to you because you were his little princess. You never had to work for anything in your life. Victoria and I, we've both struggled. We deserve that money more than you do. Victoria. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. My mother, the woman who gave birth to me. Your mother is an incredible woman. She's passionate, alive, exciting. Everything you're not. The words hit like physical blows. And you. My voice was shaking. You married me just for my money? No. He pulled on his shirt, buttoning it calmly. I married you because I thought I could love you. Thought you'd be a good wife. But you're boring, Gladys. You're predictable. You're plain. Your mother, she's everything I wish you could be. She's 25 years older than you. Age is just a number. Victoria looks better than half the women your age. And she knows how to make a man feel wanted. Needed. You just exist. I felt like I was floating outside my body watching this horror unfold. So what now? I asked. You're just going to leave me? Take my money and run off with my mother? Well, that was the plan. But since you found out, we'll have to expedite things. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. I'm texting Victoria. She should know you figured it out. Don't. But he'd already sent the message. Within seconds his phone rang. He answered it on speaker. She knows, he said without preamble. Oh dear. My mother's voice. Familiar and foreign at the same time. How much? Everything. A long sigh. This is unfortunate. Mom. My voice cracked. How could you? Silence. Then, Gladys, sweetie, you wouldn't understand. What Declan and I have, it's special. It's real love. The kind I never had with your father. The kind you and Declan never had either. He's my husband. A husband you were losing anyway. Be honest, Gladys. When was the last time he made you feel beautiful? When was the last time he truly wanted you? Because he was with you. Yes, but that should tell you something. He chose me. Despite everything. Despite the age difference, despite the complications. He chose me because I'm simply better for him. I couldn't speak. Couldn't process what I was hearing. Look, Victoria continued, her voice taking on a practical tone. Here's what's going to happen. Declan is going to file for divorce. You're going to sign the papers without a fight. And you're going to transfer your trust fund to a joint account. Why the hell would I do that? Because if you don't, we'll make your life very difficult. Declan has access to all your financial records. Your passwords. Your business accounts. We could destroy your credit, drain your personal accounts, make it look like you're unstable. We could ruin you, Gladys. That's extortion. That's survival. You have two options. Cooperate and walk away with your dignity intact. Or fight us and lose everything anyway, plus your reputation. I'll go to the police. And tell them what? That your husband is leaving you? That's not a crime. As for the affair, it's sordid but legal. And regarding the money, we haven't actually taken anything yet. You have no proof of intent that would stand up in court. She thought of everything. So you're just going to take everything from me. My husband, my money, my life. Oh, sweetheart, don't be so dramatic. You're young. You'll bounce back. Find another man. Build another life. But Declan and I, we deserve this happiness. After everything we've both been through, we deserve it. You're my mother, I said, and my voice sounded like a child's. Small. Lost. How can you do this to me? For the first time, I heard emotion in her voice. But it wasn't remorse. Because for once in my life, I'm choosing what I want instead of what's expected. I spent 30 years in a loveless marriage to your father, pretending to be happy, playing the perfect wife and mother. And then he died and left everything to you. Everything. Like I was just an afterthought. Do you know how that felt? Dad loved you. Your dad tolerated me. But he adored you. His precious Gladys. And when he died, he made sure you'd be taken care of. $8 million to his daughter. And you know what he left me? The house and a pension. That's it. Mom. So yes, I'm taking what should have been partly mine to begin with. And I'm taking the man who actually loves me, who sees me, who makes me feel alive. And I'm not going to feel guilty about it. She hung up. I looked at Declan, who was watching me with something like pity in his eyes. I'll have my lawyer send over the divorce papers, he said. And the financial documents you need to sign. The sooner you cooperate, the sooner this can all be over. I'm not signing anything. He shrugged. Then we'll do this the hard way. Either way, Gladys, you've already lost. Accept it. He grabbed his briefcase and walked out of the bedroom. I heard him going down the stairs, heard the front door open and close. And then I was alone in the house that no longer felt like home. I don't remember much of the next few days. I called in sick to work. Stopped answering calls. Stopped eating. I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every sign I'd missed. How long had they been planning this? Was any of my marriage real? Did Declan ever love me even in the beginning? Anita finally showed up at my door, using the spare key I'd given her. Gladys? Oh my God, Gladys. She found me in bed, still in the same clothes I'd been wearing for 3 days. The bedroom was dark, curtains drawn. Babe, what happened? Talk to me. So I told her. Everything. And I watched her face go through the same progression of emotions I'd experienced. Disbelief. Her. Rage. Your mother, she kept repeating. Your actual mother? Gladys, that's... I don't even have words. They want me to sign over my trust fund. You can't do that. They're going to take everything anyway. She said they'd ruin me if I fought back. Then we fight back harder. Anita's jaw was set. We're not letting them get away with this. I don't know how to fight this. Yes, you do. She grabbed my shoulders, made me look at her. You're Gladys Whitmore. You're smart. You're strong. And you're not going to let these monsters win. But I felt anything but strong. The divorce papers arrived a week later, delivered by courier. Along with documents transferring my trust fund to a joint account in Declan's and Victoria's names. There was also a card. An invitation. Gold embossed lettering on cream cardstock. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Victoria Hartley and Declan Whitmore. They'd kept his married name. My name. The name he'd taken when we got married because he said he wanted us to be a real family. The wedding was scheduled for 3 months from now. They weren't wasting time. And at the bottom of the invitation in my mother's handwriting. Do come, darling. It would mean so much to have you there. After all, you'll always be my daughter no matter what. I stared at that invitation for hours. And something changed inside me. The grief, the pain, the heartbreak. It all started crystallizing into something else. Something harder. Colder. Rage. Pure focused rage. They thought I was going to roll over and let them destroy me. Thought I'd sign away everything and disappear quietly. Thought I was weak. They'd made a mistake. I called Anita. I need your help, I said. I need to hire a private investigator. A lawyer. A forensic accountant. And I need to do it without them knowing. Now that's more like it. I could hear the smile in her voice. Let's burn their world down. The first thing I did was secure my money. I met with my financial advisor, Harrison Pierce, a man my father had trusted implicitly. Harrison, I need to make some changes to my accounts. Immediately. He looked at me over his glasses. What kind of changes? I need to freeze my trust fund. Put additional security measures in place. And I need to do it in a way that makes it look like everything is normal until it's too late for anyone to stop it. This is about your husband. It wasn't a question. Harrison had always been perceptive. Yes. I heard he's planning to divorce you. I'm sorry, Gladys. Don't be sorry. Help me make sure he doesn't get a penny of my inheritance. Harrison smiled. It would be my pleasure. Over the next week, we quietly locked down every account. Harrison created new shell companies, moved assets, established trusts within trusts. The money was still technically mine, still accessible to me, but now it would take a team of lawyers months to even figure out where it all was, let alone access it. Your father was a smart man, Harrison said as we finished. He set up your trust with provisions specifically to protect you from predatory marriages. All I've done is activate those safeguards. If your husband tries to claim any of this in the divorce, he's going to hit a wall he can't scale. What about the papers he wants me to sign? The transfer documents. Sign them if you want. They're worthless. The accounts they reference don't exist anymore. By the time he realizes what's happened, the window to contest it will have closed. I felt my first real smile in weeks. Next, I hired a private investigator. His name was Roger Castillo, and he came highly recommended by Anita's lawyer cousin. I need everything, I told him. Photos, videos, financial records, phone records, emails. I need to know every place they meet, every time they've been together, every lie they've told. You want to take them down in the divorce? I want to take them down permanently. Roger was thorough. Frighteningly thorough. Within 2 weeks he had a file 3 inches thick. Photos of Declan and Victoria at restaurants, hotels, walking through the park holding hands. Timestamps showing they'd been meeting for over a year, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. Credit card records showing Declan had been paying for hotel rooms, dinners, gifts. All with our joint credit card. My money funding their affair. Text messages recovered from phone backups. More explicit than what I'd seen on his phone. Plans, schemes, detailed discussions about how to manipulate me, how to get access to my accounts, how to stage the divorce to maximum financial advantage. And then Roger found something I hadn't expected. Your mother has been meeting with a man named Warren Blackstone, Roger said, sliding a photo across the desk. He's a financial advisor. Not a reputable one. The kind who specializes in hiding money from the IRS, moving assets offshore, that sort of thing. Why would she need that? Because she and your husband are planning to disappear. They've already purchased property in Spain under a shell corporation. They're setting up a new life and they plan to be gone before the divorce is finalized. Can we stop them? We can do better than that. We can make sure when they leave with nothing. And we can make sure everyone knows exactly what they did. Tell me how. Roger smiled. First, we're going to let them think everything is going according to plan. I signed the divorce papers. Signed them without complaint, without a lawyer present, exactly as Declan had demanded. He looked surprised when I handed them over. No fight, he asked. What's the point? I said, letting my voice sound defeated. You've won. You're my mother. I just want this over with. And the trust fund transfer? I'll sign those too. Just give me a few days to process everything. Thank you, Gladys. I know this is hard, but it's for the best. He actually sounded sincere, like he believed he was doing me a favor. I watched him leave with those signed papers and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just cold calculation. I signed the trust fund transfer documents 3 days later. Went to the bank with Declan and Victoria, played my part as the defeated ex-wife perfectly. My mother looked radiant that day. Happy. She actually hugged me before we went into the bank. Thank you for being mature about this, sweetheart. I know it hurts now, but one day you'll understand. One day you'll find someone who makes you feel the way Declan makes me feel. I almost laughed. We sat in the bank manager's office. I signed the papers. Watched Declan and Victoria try to hide their excitement as the manager processed the transfer. The funds will be available in your joint account within 24 hours, the manager said. They thanked him. Thanked me. Walked out of that bank like they'd just won the lottery. Because in their minds they had. That night I met with Roger and Harrison. It's done. I asked. It's done, Harrison confirmed. They signed papers transferring funds from an account that no longer exists. The moment they try to access that money, they'll find nothing. And because they signed documentation acknowledging they knew what they were taking, they've essentially confessed to attempted theft. What about their property in Spain? We've been in contact with Spanish authorities. Turns out your mother's financial advisor, Warren Blackstone, is wanted for fraud in 3 countries. The property they purchased is part of an ongoing investigation. It'll be seized as soon as they try to claim it. So they'll have nothing. Less than nothing. They'll owe money to lawyers, to the Spanish government, possibly face criminal charges. Good. I turned to Roger. And the other thing? Already handled. I've compiled all the evidence into a comprehensive file. Tomorrow morning it will be delivered to their employers, their families, their friends. Everyone will know exactly what they did. Both of them will lose their jobs? I asked. Your husband's architecture firm has a morality clause. Affair with a client's family member, which your mother technically was when she visited his office, is grounds for immediate termination. Your mother's country club, where she volunteers and socializes, will receive a very detailed package about her activities. These places don't take kindly to scandal. I should have felt guilty. Should have felt something other than satisfaction. But I didn't. The wedding invitation was still on my refrigerator. 3 months had become 2 months. Then 1 month. And suddenly it was the week of their wedding. Declan had moved out completely now, moving into an apartment he'd rented with money he thought he'd stolen from me. Victoria had been calling, trying to maintain some semblance of a mother-daughter relationship, but I'd been dodging her calls. Gladys, please pick up. I want you at my wedding. I want my daughter there. Her voicemails made me sick. Anita thought I should skip it. You don't need to witness that travesty, she said. You've already won. Let them have their pathetic wedding and then watch their world fall apart afterward. But I needed to be there. Needed to see their faces. Needed them to see mine. I'm going, I told her. I want to look them in the eyes one last time before everything comes crashing down. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at the Rosewood Estate, an expensive venue in the countryside. 200 guests. Full ceremony. Reception. The works. They'd spared no expense. Because why would they? They thought they had $8 million to play with. I bought a dress for the occasion. Simple, elegant black. Funeral attire. Because I was attending a death. The death of who they used to be. Saturday morning I woke up calm. Eerily calm. I'd spent the last 3 months planning, preparing, putting all the pieces in place. Today those pieces would fall. I drove to the Rosewood Estate alone. Arrived early while they were still setting up. No one questioned my presence. I was the daughter of the bride after all. I took a seat in the back row of the garden where the ceremony would take place. White chairs arranged in perfect rows. An arch covered in roses at the front. Classical music playing softly through speakers. It would have been beautiful if it wasn't so obscene. Guests started arriving. I recognized some of them. My mother's friends from her book club. Declan's colleagues from work. Distant relatives who probably had no idea what was really happening here. The officiant took his place. The music changed to something more formal. And then the groom appeared. Declan walked down the aisle with his best man. He looked handsome in his tuxedo. Happy. Excited. He saw me sitting in the back row and his steps faltered for just a moment. But then he smiled. A smug, victorious smile. He thought I was here to show I was okay with everything. That I'd accepted my fate. He had no idea. The music swelled. Everyone stood. And my mother appeared at the end of the aisle. Victoria Hartley in a white wedding dress. Not ivory, not cream. Pure white. Strapless, form-fitting with a long train. Her hair was styled in elegant curls. Diamond earrings, my father's last gift to her, sparkled at her ears. She looked beautiful. Radiant. 20 years younger than her age. And she was walking down the aisle toward my husband. I watched her process down that aisle, her eyes locked on Declan. When she passed my row, she looked at me. And she smiled. Not a warm smile. Not apologetic. It was triumphant. It said, I won. I smiled back. Because she had no idea what was coming. The ceremony began. The officiant talked about love, about second chances, about two souls finding each other against all odds. I wanted to laugh. Or vomit. Maybe both. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever hold your peace. The traditional words hung in the air. I felt every eye in the place turned to me just for a second, waiting to see if I'd object. I said nothing. The ceremony continued. Vows were exchanged. Rings were placed on fingers. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Declan kissed my mother. Long, passionate, inappropriate for the venue. Some of the older guests looked uncomfortable. I just watched. They broke apart, both of them glowing with happiness. The officiant presented them to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Mrs. Declan Whitmore. Applause erupted. They walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand, beaming at their guests. When they passed me, my mother reached out and squeezed my hand. Thank you for coming, sweetheart, she whispered. It means everything. The reception was held in the estate's ballroom. Champagne flowed. Dinner was served. The cake was cut. First dance. Toasts. I sat at a table in the corner, nursing a glass of wine, watching it all unfold. Declan's best man gave a toast about love conquering all obstacles. One of my mother's friends talked about how brave Victoria was for following her heart. No one mentioned the elephant in the room. No one acknowledged that the groom had been married to the bride's daughter until 3 months ago. And then my mother stood up to give a speech. "I want to thank everyone for being here today," she said, her voice carrying across the room. "I know this situation is unconventional. But when you find real love, true love, you can't let it go just because it's complicated." She looked at Declan with such adoration it made my stomach turn. Declan has shown me that it's never too late to start over. That age is just a number. That happiness is possible even after loss, even after years of settling for less than you deserve. She raised her glass. "To new beginnings." "To new beginnings," the room echoed. I didn't drink. As the reception wore on, I finally stood up. Walked over to where Declan and Victoria were talking with guests. "Could I speak to you both?" I asked quietly. "Just for a moment?" They exchanged glances. Then nodded. We moved to a quiet corner of the ballroom away from the crowd. "I just wanted to say congratulations," I said, my voice steady. "You both got exactly what you wanted." "Gladys," my mother started. "No, really. You played your game perfectly. The affair, the manipulation, the theft of my inheritance. You did it all so well." Declan's jaw tightened. "We're not doing this here." "Oh, but we are. Because I want you to know something. That money you think you took from me? The $8 million sitting in your joint account." They were both staring at me now. "It doesn't exist." "What are you talking about?" Victoria's voice was sharp. "The account you transferred funds from? I closed it 2 months ago. The papers you signed? They're worthless. The money you think you have? It's gone. Hidden in places you'll never find." Declan's face went white. "You can't do that." "I already did. And that's not all. The property you bought in Spain? It's being seized as we speak. Turns out your financial advisor is a criminal, and everything he helped you purchase is part of a federal investigation." My mother grabbed my arm. "What have you done?" "What you taught me to do, Mother." I looked out for myself. I protected what was mine. I pulled my arm free. "Oh, and one more thing. Tomorrow morning, everyone you know will receive a comprehensive file. Photos of you two together. Text messages planning my destruction. Financial records showing you tried to steal from me. Your employers, your friends, your family, they'll all know exactly who you are." "You vindictive little bitch," Victoria hissed. "I learned from the best." I smiled at her. "Congratulations on your marriage. I hope you enjoy poverty together." I turned and walked away. "Gladys." Declan called after me. "Gladys, wait." But I kept walking. Out of the ballroom, through the foyer, into the parking lot. I heard shouting behind me. Declan and Victoria fighting. Her voice rising to a shriek, his voice desperate and angry. The sounds of their perfect day falling apart. I got in my car and drove away. And for the first time in months I felt light. Free. The fallout was spectacular. Monday morning, Declan called me 17 times. I didn't answer. He finally left a voicemail. "Gladys, please. We need to talk. There's been a mistake with the accounts. The bank says the funds aren't there. This has to be some kind of error. Call me back. Please." Tuesday, Victoria showed up at my house. I watched through the window as she pounded on the door. "Gladys, open this door. We need to talk about this misunderstanding." I stayed inside. Eventually she left. Wednesday, I received notice that Declan's architecture firm had terminated his employment. The official reason was breach of professional ethics. The unofficial reason was the file Roger had sent them, complete with evidence that Declan had been using company time and resources to conduct his affair. Thursday, Victoria's country club revoked her membership. Apparently, the board had held an emergency meeting after receiving certain documents. Adultery with a daughter's husband was not the kind of scandal they wanted associated with their establishment. Friday, I received a call from Roger. Spanish authorities have seized the property. Warren Blackstone has been arrested. Your mother and Declan are listed as persons of interest in the investigation. They're not being charged with anything yet, but they're definitely going to be questioned. How much money did they lose? They put down $200,000 on that property. It's gone. Seized as evidence. $200,000. My money from our joint credit card. that Declan had funneled into their escape plan. Can I recover it? Already working on it. We're documenting everything as fraud. You'll get it back. By the second week after the wedding, the social fallout was complete. Everyone knew. And I mean everyone. My mother's friends from the book club stopped talking to her. Declan's colleagues refused to return his calls. Distant relatives who'd attended the wedding began sending messages to my mother expressing their disgust. The narrative had shifted completely. I was no longer the pathetic abandoned wife. I was the victim of a cruel betrayal by the two people who should have protected me. And Declan and Victoria? They were pariahs. I heard through mutual acquaintances that they were fighting constantly. The stress of losing everything, jobs, money, reputation, was destroying their relationship faster than they'd built it. Turns out, love built on lies and theft doesn't survive when the consequences arrive. 3 weeks after the wedding, I came home from work to find Declan sitting on my front steps. He looked terrible. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled. "Gladys," he said, standing up as I approached. "Please, just 5 minutes." I should have gone inside and locked the door. Should have called the police for trespassing. But I wanted to hear this. 5 minutes, I said. We sat on the steps, not touching, a gulf between us that felt wider than the Grand Canyon. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I'm sorry. For all of it. You're sorry you got caught." "No. I'm sorry I did it. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I threw away something real for something that was never going to work. It's not working out with my mother?" He laughed bitterly. "Your mother is furious that the money's gone. That's all she talks about. How I promised her a new life and I can't deliver. She's threatening to divorce me. We haven't even been married a month." I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pity. Nothing. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need your help. The money, Gladys. I know you moved it somewhere. We need it. Not for Spain, not for running away. We need it just to survive. I can't find a job. No firm will touch me after what happened. Victoria can't work because everyone knows what she did. We're broke. We're losing the apartment. We have nothing." "You have each other," I said. "Isn't that what you wanted? True love. Please. I'm begging you. Not for me. For her. She's your mother. She stopped being my mother when she slept with my husband." "Gladys." "No." I stood up. "You both made your choices. You chose to betray me, to steal from me, to destroy me. And now you're facing the consequences. That's not my problem. What do you want from us? What will it take for you to help?" "I don't want anything from you. I want you out of my life. Both of you. So that's it? You're just going to let us crash and burn?" "Yes. Because that's exactly what you deserve." I walked to my front door, unlocked it, and went inside. I didn't look back. 1 month later, I heard they'd filed for divorce. Victoria was citing emotional distress and financial fraud. Declan was countersuing for defamation. They were destroying each other now. Doing my work for me. 2 months later, my mother showed up at my workplace. She looked old. That's the first thing I noticed. The stress had aged her dramatically. Her hair was graying at the roots, her face lined with exhaustion. "Gladys, please. I need to talk to you. I'm working. 5 minutes. Please. I'm your mother." We went to a coffee shop down the street. Sat across from each other in a booth by the window. "I've lost everything," she said without preamble. "My house is in foreclosure. I have no income. No friends. I'm about to be homeless." "That's unfortunate. Gladys, I'm begging you. You won. You won. You destroyed us both. Just please give me something to live on. A small allowance. Enough to get an apartment. Please." I looked at this woman who gave birth to me. Who raised me. Who I'd loved unconditionally for 30 years. And I felt nothing. "You once told me that Dad left you just the house and a pension when he died," I said quietly. "That he left everything else to me. Do you remember that?" "Yes." "Do you know why he did that? Because he always loved you more." "No. Because he knew exactly who you were. He knew you were selfish. He knew you'd waste money on yourself, on status, on appearances. So he protected his assets by leaving them to me. And he was right to do it." Tears were streaming down Victoria's face now. "He also knew you'd turn on me eventually," I continued. He warned me once when I was in college. He said, "Gladys, your mother loves you, but she loves herself more. Remember that." I didn't understand what he meant then. I do now. Please. No. You made your choices. You destroyed your own life. And I'm not going to save you from yourself. What am I supposed to do? The same thing you told me to do when you were stealing my life. Figure it out. Get a job. Build something new. You're young, right? That's what you said. Age is just a number. I stood up. Gladys, please. I'm your mother. No, I said, looking down at her. You stopped being my mother the day you betrayed me. You're just Victoria Hartley now. A stranger who made terrible decisions. And I don't owe strangers anything. I walked out of that coffee shop and I never looked back. 1 year later. I'm sitting in my new office at the publishing house. They promoted me to senior editor 6 months ago. My life is full. Rich. Complete. I bought a new house. Smaller than the one I shared with Declan, but it's mine. Every piece of furniture, every painting, every cup in the kitchen. Chosen by me for me. I've been dating someone. His name is Leo. He's kind, honest, and we take things slow. He knows my story. Knows what I've been through. And he's patient with the walls I've built. I'm not ready to marry again. Maybe I never will be. But I'm okay with that. I heard Declan moved back to his hometown in Ohio. Working construction now. Living with his brother. His dreams of being a renowned architect are dead. Victoria works part-time at a department store. She lives in a studio apartment in a bad part of town. I heard she tried to reach out to her sister, but her family wants nothing to do with her after what she did. They both lost everything. Their reputations, their careers, their money, their dignity. And I didn't have to lift another finger after that wedding. They destroyed themselves. Because that's the thing about people who build their happiness on someone else's pain. Never last. The foundation is rotten and eventually it all comes crashing down. Some people think I should forgive them. That holding on to anger is bad for me. That I should let it go and move on. But here's what I've learned. Forgiveness is not owed to people who haven't earned it. Moving on doesn't mean pretending something didn't happen. I moved on by building a new life. By reclaiming my power. By refusing to let their betrayal define me. They wanted to break me. To take everything and leave me hollow. Yet I broke them. Not with violence or continued revenge. But by simply protecting myself and letting them face the consequences of their actions. That's what they couldn't anticipate. That the quiet, plain, boring Gladys they thought they could steamroll had steel in her spine. I learned something profound through all of this. Pain can be transformative. Betrayal can be instructive. And sometimes, the worst thing that ever happens to you becomes the catalyst for becoming the person you were always meant to be. I'm not the same woman who came home early from work to find her husband with her mother. That woman was naive. Trusting. Willing to doubt herself before doubting them. The woman I am now is different. Harder. Wiser. Unbreakable. And I'm grateful for it. Sometimes late at night I think about that wedding. About standing in the back of that garden watching my mother walk down the aisle toward my husband. In that moment I could have fallen apart. Could have screamed and cried and made a scene. But I didn't. Because I knew something they didn't. The moment they betrayed me they lost. They just didn't know it yet. And watching them realize it, watching their perfect plan crumble, watching their relationship implode under the weight of its own corruption, that was the sweetest revenge of all. Not because I'm cruel, but because justice sometimes wears the face of karma. And karma, she's patient. She's thorough. And she never forgets. My name is Gladys Whitmore. This is my story. And I'm still here, still standing, still thriving. While they burn in the ashes of the life they tried to steal from me.